Okay.
A sponsor.
A sponsor.
Can I stop him, please? The tennis courts are being resurfaced using city fund, or town funds coming up after July, probably August. And the funds that have been offered to fix the courts from Little League will be used to fix future courts. But those are, the funds are there, they're budgeted, and as of today's management meeting, they're going forward after the start of the fiscal year.
And how much have you set aside to resurface?
Enough to resurface those courts, I have no idea.
Based on proposal? Okay.
Not the $300,000 that the tennis professional thought would be a good idea, but it was something less, a lot less,
Helen is asking for a lot.
a lot.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
You have the floor.
The size of the benches or the stadium itself, everybody has talked about that, and my comments are that if it was actually sized for 100 people, that it wouldn't require as much space, it wouldn't require as much tree removal, and it might be, if we didn't really need that much space, why are we taking it to have it for people to sit so that they don't have to talk to their neighbor or whatever? And it's kind of my opinion that it could be smaller and it could save park space, it could save trees. I understand you guys don't really want to hear that, but that's my input to you.
Certainly as one of the items for further discussion
Right.
would be the size of the stadium and the seating capacity.
If we could just be clear that it's not a stadium.
Whatever.
What would you like me to call it?
Covered spectator seating. Thank you.
In that edifice? Okay.
The path to and from the parking lot, I went out and measured it, and it is 6 feet wide, and today, I'm not really sure why it needs to be 8 feet wide, and I do have a lot of concern about traffic other than foot traffic on that path. I've seen coaches driving trucks through the park to unload their equipment rather than carrying it. So if we make that really
If you
wide,
can get a license plate number, I would love to get that from you. I haven't seen that.
I have seen it.
Okay, fantastic.
So anyways, I'm concerned about the width of the path. I'm not really sure why we need an 8-foot path. We're adding hardscape, and that's not generally the way we do things. As you notice, the town has put in paths that are gravel or whatever material is.
Impervious surface.
Yeah.
Decomposed granite, I think is
typical.
the majority.
Yeah. Bringing the sewage and the electrical in from the pavilion, I don't know what kind of a path you guys have in mind for that, but I would imagine that would impact park usage.
No, there is special tunneling technology that we've discussed with our contractor that allows you to move around tree roots and structures, and you go below grade. It allows you to be flexible. Basically what you're doing is you're pushing tubes underneath rather than digging a massive trench. So you have an entry and exit point. So that's the main focus that we'd like to stick with, because we want to mitigate that issue. We don't want to impede other park users.
Okay.
It's the same thing that's used for natural gas lines when they go to neighborhoods and they just push them through.
The fence from the bullpen out to the foul poles, that could be, that might end up being less of permanent. That seems to me that could be removable as well, to open the field up to park users when it's not baseball season.
And really quickly, the right and left field fences won't impede any of the other activities for the other people using the park. It already slopes up. You can't really run through, or you'd run underneath a tree, or you'd run into the oak. We see that more so than anything, and it's one of the main basis of the project is safety. Keeping children, kids, dogs off the field, keeping people from getting too close or sitting on the field during a game where they start to encroach into the playing surface. I've seen people get hit, especially on the right field side. It's not fun to see.
I'm not saying there shouldn't be a fence, I'm just suggesting that perhaps we could use the removable fence.
It's about the sight lines of the park when it's a park.
Yeah,
Right.
actually, you know, that would be a topic in our
Okay.
next section where
Okay.
we're gonna discuss
Right.
the proposed permanent fences along the baselines.
All right, then that's all I have. So what have you got? You got
We
more?
got some more.
I do.
Let's see here. Somewhere in the description about this thing, it talks about lighting. And it says no lighting in the seating area. But there is lighting in the restrooms and peripheral security lighting.
Correct.
So can you describe what it is and how it works?
I'll hand that over to Carl. He can speak better to that.
The, in the bathrooms and the storage room, there would be limited fluorescent or LED fixtures just to provide adequate light. There aren't any windows for safety reasons and vandalism reasons. We had contemplated skylights, but have not included that at this point for the same reason. And exteriorly around the perimeter, we haven't selected fixtures, but anticipate there need to be some security and safety lights, wall mounted, to the structure itself.
Well, we have certain requirements about being downlit and so forth.
Yeah.
We have no idea what you're gonna put there, is what you're telling us.
We have not chosen fixtures, and we're
Or
still,
intensity or anything else.
yeah, no.
So it's an open
But,
question.
yeah, but they would all be compliant with whatever zoning regulations or design guidelines.
Question, what, it says, there's a storage area for a tractor. Is that right?
Yes.
Tractor?
It's for a John Deere lawn tractor. So it's a basically riding mower.
I think I asked that before. So with a tractor, you have to have certain equipment to maintain it, gasoline, oil, and filters and so forth. Will that be stored within that same area?
Potentially, yes.
So
It's something we would have to discuss with the city attorney and make sure that we're within the codes and regulations of the
There'll
town.
be flammables underneath the stands.
No,
No.
not underneath the stands.
It'd be flammable underneath a solid concrete wall. I believe that's probably legal storage.
The other storage area, there's two other storage areas. Any plans, and I think you answered that before, but I'll ask it again. Any plans in the future for quote, a snack shop?
No. That was a proposal we originally offered to the Atherton Dames as a way to generate revenue for their activities. It was shot down quickly, and we said, okay, we'll take it off the table.
Forever.
Yeah, we will not put a snack shack in there. There will be no facilities, there will be no cook surfaces, nothing. No.
And no night activity, no night games, no
Yep,
lights.
there's no lights, no playing lights, out of respect for the neighbors in Fountain Gables and the trains going by.
It's too late.
Another question, I think we asked the question before. Have you had input that you can show us from other sport users, soccer, lacrosse, and so forth, of how they feel about this proposal?
I believe that's already on the public record, and they have spoken. I can't speak to their individual thoughts. I have spoken with Mike Milano and MJ Davey. MJ, I can tell you, is an opponent of the project. She thinks that it would single out the whole park for just boys, which really put us back because we have many girls that play in our league. AYSO is very happy, and they would like to see more work done in the park to do the entire field. I have told Mike Milano that you guys have a lot more money in the bank than we do. You've got money to spend. If you wanted to do that, take it up with the town. Yeah, but they're fine with it because it doesn't impede and it actually improves the surface for their fall practices.
Lisa, do we know if we have those letters on file in place? AYSO or
No, we notified both organizations of this meeting, and I believe at the previous meeting, you had MJ Davy from Lacrosse spoke,
Yeah,
last
they're-
time it was on the agenda.
Yes.
But I didn't receive any letters from those organizations.
Right. And they spoke at prior meetings 2 years ago when we were originally before council, when we originally proposed.
Are there any further questions of the
Check
applicant?
my list here just a second. Okay, that'll do it for the time being, I think.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll close the public hearing at this point.
I don't see if there's anyone else from the.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm jumping. Time is going by very swiftly, and I don't mean to cut off any other.
I for one appreciate the effort though.
Too late for you?
I have a 2-hour drive.
I'm sorry, we will not close the public hearing. If anybody else wants to speak on the subject, please do. Are there anyone who wants to? Okay, I will now close the public hearing.
Good job.
Thank you. What I'd like to do at this point is to make a list of items of work on which we might or might not make recommendations. For example, Mary Beth's point about fencing along baselines would be one subject I would say would be discussed. And after we get our list, I would try to move down each item and get some sort of consensus or majority opinion out of the commission. And then we would try to assemble all these subjects and possible recommendations and come back to the next meeting with a final letter of recommendation or final proposal of recommendations to the council. But I don't think we can do it all tonight.
Why?
Well,
I wanted to do it the last time, but so.
yeah, I know, we got cut off last time by the council wanting the election and cut many good comments that you had. But we can try to put the thing together, but I think it's going to be pretty tough, depending on how many items are of concern and possible adjustment and recommendation to the council.
An alternate might be for each of us to submit a list of questions proposed to Lisa, for example, and have her compile the list, get it back to us individually, and then we can look at the list in the intervening time and be able to do that whole thing next time after seeing all the questions and thinking about them carefully ourselves. Come back and finalize it next time.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak for Lisa, but I would actually appreciate the opportunity to, not necessarily specific questions, but question areas ahead of time so that I can have maybe even written comments to the commission ahead of time.
As to what course the commission might take.
Is this a minefield or is this a very fine area?
Sure. That would be. Well, this is basically what Phil has suggested, I think, is that each one of us submit a list of items or questions for further recommendations. We could say that they would be in the next 2 weeks, and staff would deal with it, make a final list, and any comments staff might have on the subject, and come back at our next meeting and make our final recommendation.
I just want to go on the record as saying I don't agree.
That's fine.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that the proposal hasn't changed very significantly from the last time we looked at it and the time before. And it seems to me that, Little League has you know, they keep coming back with the same thing, and we keep postponing it for this, and postponing it for that, and postponing it for the other things. I mean, you know, the items up for discussion are the same items that were the last time, and the same items that were the time before. I do agree, we should go through and have a list, and we just go yay, nay, this, that, the other thing. I don't see why we need to prolong this.
If I might indulge the commission for just a second. 2 points, because we're not trying to prolong the agony either, but there are other staff members that aren't here, Steve Tyler, Mike Kashawagi, that their input would be valuable for the rest of the staff, so we can, you know, speak with one large voice coming back on the issues. The second thing is, under any guideline or timeline that's set forth, nothing's going to be done between now and the end of the Little League season this year, clearly, and they couldn't do construction in anyway. It's going to be a while. A month one way or the other, I don't think it's going to be a significant delay. I mean, we all want to see this behind us one way or the other, but I'd rather have all the staff weigh in. I'd rather have this, since we're using an odd procedure, I'd rather have us all have as much information in front of us when we do this, rather than, you know, a laundry list where we all sit here and the commissioners all sit here and say, well, I like this one, I don't like this one.
But I thought at the beginning, that's exactly what you said that we're here to do,
Yeah.
is to look at the
Sort of,
things
yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
like it, don't like it, here's my comments on it.
Well,
Next item. Because I don't think that it's that complicated. It's like outfield fence. You want it, you don't want it. You want it removable, you don't want it not removable, you don't want it at all.
Okay.
Left and right field fence,
You-
removable,
you-
no fence,
You
6 feet
raise
fence,
good,
4 feet, 6
Paul,
feet.
you raised good
Next
questions about environmental security. I happen to know the police chief has looked at this. I happen to know the police chief will say lots of lights on the exterior, not a few lights. And I know that.
Then why wasn't it here? I mean, if you've, the staff has known about this for months. I just think that this is basically the same plan that has been there for like a year. And I agree, a month doesn't make that much difference. But now, each month has now turned into, I don't know, a year, 18 months, 2 years?
Yes, but remember,
We
the
didn't
cause
send it to
is
the-
not us. We started, and the council took it away.
No, I would like to disagree. When we were here the last time, it was before the council ever put it on the ballot, and I made the same comments at that meeting. That it's like, okay, we've got it in front of us, I got my laundry list, let's go through one by one. And if you look at the minutes, I went through one by one and said yay, nay, whatever, here's the reasons.
I know.
So I want to be on the record as saying, I don't agree with the procedure. I think people that come in front of us have a right to get the decision in a timely manner.
But they also have the right to a good decision.
Right decision.
And
But this,
so.
it's not their fault that we
Wait a
can't make a
minute,
decision.
wait a minute, Paul. You're out of order. You've stated your case, and that's it. We'll vote on which way we want to go. I think you've made a good argument. I apologize to the Little League people. I would like to see it out of our hands. I don't think it should have been in our hands in the first place, but it's by the very nature of what's being proposed with the complications of an election. I think it's much more, takes more time for all of us than not. I will ask the commission as to what they want to do. You've heard the arguments, Phil has made the argument,
Okay,
the city attorney has. You've made your argument for moving on and trying to get rid of it tonight. Not get rid of it, but to come up with a set of recommendations. So I'm going to ask the commission as to what do they want to do.
You want a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make another motion then. I move that each planning commissioner submit a list of questions or items that should be discussed to Lisa for her dissemination to staff and back to us for our review and determination of which items should be forwarded to the city council at an appropriate meeting.
And you give date for that submission?
at our next regular meeting?
Well, I think he wanted time for staff comment.
If those comments could be to the staff within 2 weeks, I think that would give us adequate time to circulate among ourselves. Some of us are contract and we're not here every day. That would be all of us over here. And so it helps us to give us a little bit of time to get to these things.
How about promptly submitted at least?
No, let's have a definite date.
Yeah, I think if you have a cutoff date, that's fine. And then that also lets us, ahead of the next meeting, circulate to all of the commissioners what everybody else is thinking, what the issues are going to be, so you can think ahead of time what you want to do with it.
10 days?
10 days.
Within 10 days.
We have the holiday weekend coming up.
Sure was working that
I
out.
can.
May 31st, Friday, May
Oh, I'm gonna
31st.
come up with it.
30th?
All right.
May 31st is a Friday,
Yeah. Fine.
It's the end of next week.
end of next week, right? So you would have a week and 2 days. And then I would like to pull together with staff comments and then also provide the list to Menlo Atherton Little League so you can receive their
Sure.
comments prior to your meeting, so you can
Sure,
take that into
yeah.
consideration.
Was there a second for the motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. You know the terms of the motion. All those in favor?
Comment on the vote, on the motion?
Yes, I'm sorry, discussion.
Uh, Maybe I come from a different school of scale, but this is not abnormal for me. I've been on boards where voters had voted for things, and the planning commission was responsible for coming up with a responsible plan or sort of a responsible plan discussion. And one of the reasons I got involved with planning was to what this planning commission was. I just felt like the community hadn't come together as a community on issues like this. So for me, it's about the discussion and about the dialogue and about the understanding. And the understanding has to be that we're trying to come up with a plan that is a good plan for the use of that area. That means it's a great park and it's a great baseball field. And one can't overweight the other. So as long as I feel like any applicant is coming as a community group or a member is coming to the board saying, hey, let's talk about how we're going to make this work to the effectiveness of the community and for our use, then I'm saying, okay, that's good planning. So I'm ready to go with a list of things I think that this applicant should be thinking about to improve the plan. That's, I believe, is the role of the planning commissioner. And then within the boundaries of whatever legal restrictions there are. So I'm willing to, I want to have this applicant know what I think is the areas that they ought to think about. And I'm ready to list off that right now, and I'd rather do that tonight than submit a list. I'll submit a list if that's the direction of the commission, but I don't think that's the type of planning that I was hoping that we would do tonight.
Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, if I can just explain, look, I don't care if you go tonight or not, but I will tell you, it would be helpful for staff to know what your issues are because of the strange way that this has come about. For instance, Commissioner Lane talked about the fact that, how he voted and why he voted, but I will tell you there was an impartial analysis that says there was a small electric scoreboard and a permanent foul line poles.
Right.
Now, so the voters knew what they were getting. That was the impartial analysis. Now, that doesn't mean they voted for it or against it based on that. And I'm not going to say you can't ask the questions, but it would be helpful for us to, at least at the staff level, be able to know what your issues are. And I apologize, I was here a long time ago when this first came up. That tells you how long ago it was, almost 2 years ago, I believe. And I agree with Paul. I don't think this should go on forever. But at the same time, it would be nice, I think, to have staff come back and say, we have issues with your issues, and here's what they are, and ahead of the meeting, so that you might be able to ferret them out or talk to us about them, and maybe we could resolve them ahead of the meeting. Something that is a lot of times easier done before a meeting than during a meeting. I don't like to to have to make calls shoot from the hip, so to speak, during a meeting if I can avoid it ahead of time. We do a pretty good job of going over these agendas ahead of time. But this is one where, to be honest with you, I'm not sure what questions you would have or what issues you would have. I'm starting to hear a few tumble out right now, but I think it would be helpful if we had a laundry list.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
Aye.
No,
The motion carries 3-2. You will submit your list by the end of the month
Yes, May 31st.
May 31st.
to the planning department. We will meet again in June, go through the list, and make our final recommendations at that time. And as the town attorney said, we will have some comments from staff. The list will also be given to Little League so that they know what items of concern are. So we will meet on the subject next month. Is there any further business before us tonight? May I have a motion for adjournment?
Gladly. I move.
Second.